Hi, welcome to Tales from the Tap. My name is Frankie, and this is my co-host,
Stan the Man.
and we are excited to talk to you about the one ban. Merry Christmas to us with this ban announcement.
Not one ban, actually.
Yeah, not one ban. But before we do, Stan, I had a fun story about
story time.
RCQs. The first one is actually the big one is not going to be the standard one that I just did, but I did want to point out that just like
This
we
weekend
hate,
is the RCQ at Borsat Gaming.
be there.
If you're watching this, it's probably already too late.
Yeah, it's probably
This
too late.
Saturday. If you're not there, be square.
Be square. I know we hate how much we don't like 4-rounders cut to top 4 or 5-rounders cut to top 4. I
Physically despise it.
I equally hate 6 rounds.
Really?
Equally hate 6 rounds. Yes, and the reason being is
Well,
that
that's
like
fair, actually.
I went 3-1, and like in most instances, I then draw myself into top 8. Then I was like, all right, well, I've got to win one more, and then I can draw, or I then have to win the next one, and I ended up losing in a heartbreaker to Will Kruger in 3.
So you ended up 4-2?
No, I lost. So then I was 3-2, and then I played again, and then lost
Oh,
again.
3-2. Oh, 3. Okay, gotcha.
So I went from 3-1
But it was
to
must
3-3.
play that would have been normally a draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the sentiment, especially because 5-rounder feels kind of clean, where like when you play a league, it's like 5 rounds, pretty quick in and out. The people that should be in top 8 are usually in top 8. The reason I like 6-rounders personally are because we already talked previously about how when you went to the RC, you were like, man, it really feels kind of mid in this room on day one. A lot of these people got team scoop, homie scooped, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these people are
Green Moose Foppa juice.
8-man 3-round single elimination RCQ winners. A lot of these people drove to Iowa for their event or whatever. You know what I mean? Or you're just like in Arkansas and like you're the only one at the fucking RCQ. So yeah, I definitely understand the sentiment of the frustration there. But at the same time, for me, I'm like, hey man, if I'm gonna play an RCQ, and especially if I'm gonna win it, the 6-rounder for me is like, one, it's awesome that there's that many people at the RCQ. I'm hoping we have at least like 30 for ours this weekend. It is early in the season and standard is really good, so I do expect like a good turnout.
Really
probably
good.
like 20 plus. But like 20 plus players, let's say we have like 20 plus here, and granted we have like pretty strong players in our area. We're gonna get like 4 or 5 like free wins if we're being honest. Like 4 or 5 players that are like, okay, if I get paired against this guy, I don't feel scared like at all. And so if like 20% of your room is like a free win, it kind of feels to me kind of like if you're 3-1ing in that room, it's like obviously it's more it's tougher and you still have to play the top 8 single elimination. But like that's not that far removed from me from like the 3-round single elimination. I beat a bunch of plumbers. And so, like, when I see the 6-rounders and it's like here or Nerd Rage or really tight, like dense, good standard players areas, when now that people are finally picking up the format, you really have to like work for it, right? So, like you mentioned, like you lost to Will Kruger. You know what I mean? Like Will Kruger's a great player.
Oh yeah,
terrific player.
Yeah,
and,
Will's
and
good.
He's grinding standard. He never like put it down.
Yeah, and
Not to mention he was playing Demir before it was like the best.
The
deck,
best
and now
deck
he's still on Demir.
Yeah, and part of it was just because also it was so heartbreaking. Like,
for sure.
So I got an Akhlazats out like safely in our game 3, and so I'm like, I'm driving.
Yeah,
this
cruise
game.
control for sure.
Yeah, and he goes, Flood Pits Drowner it, and then I immediately like play like on, I think.
And Flood Pits Drowner is so good on Axel
Oh
Sauce.
yeah,
It's like,
he flood
see
pits drowners it when I go to attack with it for the first
Ooh,
time.
wow.
So
No
like
trigger.
to stop the trigger, and I then play a Kaito to tap down his Flood Pits Drowner so that he has no way to tuck Akhlazats back into the deck.
Oh, and like a response.
Yeah.
Sure.
So like second main,
because it has
play
to be
Kaito.
untapped for it to do the shuffle.
Yeah.
It's a tap ability. Correct.
Yeah. And so I tapped on Flood Pits Drowner, and then like basically he's like beating me with a Restless Reef, and I like flip Akhlazats again, play 2 creatures, and say go. And I'm like, okay, if he can remove either of them, I'm gonna lose.
Right.
And he like kills Fairy Mastermind, or he go for throats the Akhlazats again before it can attack. So then I flipped it back up, play a Fairy Mastermind, play a Preacher, and say go. And then he goes like, kill the Fairy Mastermind, kill your other creature. Like he just runner on GFT, cut down GFT. And I was like, ugh.
So he had to like get pretty good draws, but found the line, went with it.
Yeah. And so it was really good.
That does feel bad too, because like when you're like about to be a good player, you found the line, and then like the draws kind of line up. You know, hey, it is what it is. Not every player would have made the right calls there on which creature to remove and why, and when to tap and respect interaction, etc.
Yeah, and then I got blue-green terror, which is just like, unless I can go like creature 1, 2, 3, it's really hard to win.
Well, I feel like Simic Terror and Azorius Oculus. Actually, I was talking to one of our new guys, JD, who I actually gave him a lot of shit last week, where I was like, JD, you just went 4-0 2 or 3 weeks ago. And this past week where we had like 20-something players, I was like, hey, you're the only Oculus player in the room. I think maybe there was one other person, but not like the best player. I was like, this is your chance to show us the deck is good. And that day or that weekend, Julian and I had been talking on our Discord, where he doesn't think the Oculus deck is very good right now. And I'm like, no, I disagree. I think it's a great deck. And then JD like goes 0-4. And I'm like, JD, what the hell, man? Like, so he joined the Discord, and I was like, hey, don't pull this shit again, buddy. I need you on it tonight. So then today he goes, hey, I went 3-1. I was like, okay, good. Shout outs to JD if you're watching or whatever. But I was like, hell yeah, man, that's awesome. To your point, like I think Oculus and Simic, and he was saying the same thing specifically for his deck. He's like, I feel like my deck's catered to kind of like beat Dimir. And I don't know if that's 100% true, but it does feel like the play patterns kind of like favor the Oculus player in a lot of ways, should they like hit their draws properly. And they do feel like they draw more cards more efficiently early game. Obviously, eventually the Dimir player can get themselves set up with like an Annex if they're playing that, or the Enduring Curiosity, which is insane, obviously. And then like obviously they're going to outpace you after that, but Oculus is super high efficiency, and so like it feels like those two decks are like catered to beat Dimir, and Dimir being like a fifth of the format right now, really high percentage Dimir. It definitely is like the runaway mid range deck. Golgari is still fantastic, and it's still all over the place. But even with 2 Golgari decks in the format, Dimir still puts up more numbers.
And Julian he won the RCQ on Golgari this weekend at Pastime.
That's
so
true,
shout out to you, man. Good stuff.
Split? Oh no, he actually beat the guy in the final, right?
I think he did. Just for the credit, but they were both getting.
Yeah, he got like 200 something in store credit because there was a bunch of people, and then first place. So shout out to Julian. I knew he could do it. He underestimates himself. I think we were talking about it in Discord today. Actually, I was like,
man.
bro, you're such a hard worker. He's since we're gonna talk about the modern bands later, he's like, maybe I should pick up Lotus for the Grand Prix, and I was like, actually no, Jared said he should pick up Lotus for the Grand Prix, or not Lotus, Amulet Titan. I guess they're playing some Lotuses now. Lotus Fields, and that's a Julian card. And I was like, yeah, you could learn Amulet like in a month. And he's like, oh, I don't know, it seems really difficult. I was like, not only is it not difficult, I don't think Amulet's that hard to play. Obviously, like mastering it is one thing, and there's some nuance at the top level. But Amulet, I don't think it's that hard to learn baseline, and then stacking the knowledge on top of it is something that I think a hardworking player like Julian can accomplish.
Well,
you know what I mean? Especially when you put the work in.
He plays so clean. Like he really does. Like he plays much cleaner than I do.
There's something to be said about a willingness to commit to goldfishing your deck, where like a lot of players won't, you know, and some players do it too much, where they're like not really gaining any knowledge from it. They're just like, oh, I just want to play with my cards, and Julian has like the happy medium of like putting the effort into like play test like sample hands with purpose, and that's actually something that I fundamentally lack. I almost never do like play testing with my hand. I just want to just jump into games, and decks like Amulet, where they can be kind of goldfishy, you know, like Burn, Amulet, a lot of these decks that are like, well, theoretically, like half the time it doesn't really matter what my opponent's doing. They especially reward you for goldfishing. So pick up the deck, Julian. I think you should do it. If you need cards, we'll find them. I'll hound Todd, but yeah, so like speaking of Dimir, actually, so our boy Manguchi or whatever. Obviously, if you guys are fans of the show, you know that I'm a pretty big Manguchi fan. Although today he tweeted something, or maybe it was yesterday, where I was like, that's kind of cringe, but at the same time, it's kind of true. But he was like, I figured out why I love Dimir so much, and I was like, oh no, here we go. And he's like, it's just like Mono Blue Devotion from Theros. And it's kind of funny because the only reason I'm referencing it is because for our standard events, we've been getting a lot of returning players. Like a lot of my friends from like 2012 to 2015 are coming back into Magic, whether they like took a break because they had kids, or took a break because they went to college, or got a job, moved away, moved back, etc. A lot of my friends from the past, because I've been playing Magic for like 15 years, are coming back into the game. And they all come to me, obviously, because I'm a shop owner, and like, what should I play? Why? What's good? What's not good? Etc. And we have the podcast thing going, so like we have all this info. It's actually pretty nice. It's pretty refreshing to like be this involved in the game and not feel too tired out. But I was kind of giving the same explanation to a couple of my buddies. I was like, oh yeah, a lot of the stuff now feels like old modern, and old modern was like Theros era, where a lot of these guys were playing Abzan when that was like a really good deck, and Jund before it. And the main comparisons I was making were to all these guys from the past, like Foundry Street Denizen. I think I referenced multiple times on the podcast before it's now in Foundations, which is so funny. And Hammerhand and like the mono red deck from Theros, and then like obviously Hazoret red and all that stuff. So I made a lot of comparisons to the mono blue Devotion deck. Manguchi's post is like, he's like, Flood Pit's Drowner is Tidebinder Mage, which if you don't know what that card is, good for you. But like every card he named and made the comparison to, I was like, buddy, delete the tweet. Delete tweet. It's like Enduring Curiosity is Biden of Thassa, and he's like, Kaito is actual Thassa. And I'm like, okay, don't get me wrong, I missed that mono blue deck. That was a really fun mono blue deck, super tough aggro. He was like, Siren Storm Tamer is Cloudfin Raptor. Which is like 1-drop 0/1, but it has Evolve.
Oh yeah.
So
well, I played that in my first standard.
Oh yeah, exactly. I forgot that's like right around when you were like starting.
But Spy,
before
you meant Spyglass Siren.
Spyglass Siren, yeah. I always say Siren Storm Tamer, which I'm pretty sure is like the sacrifice one for like counterspell or something.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
The spirit one.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always mix the names up. Every time I do it, and Julian or Jared or whoever's in Discord with us is like, Spyglass Siren. And I'm like, okay, yeah, true. You know what I meant, though.
And that's me right now.
You know what I meant, though.
Yes,
you know what I meant. Like, Todd's not putting the cards on the screen anymore. You know what I meant. Anyways, we'll look for an editor, I promise. But Sal's been helping us out. Shout out, Sal. You're the best.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah, to like the point, I was like, yeah, this is a good comparison, except in the same way when we did the pre-release episode for Walls of Eldraine, and we're like, man, these cards are like all the same repeat cards, except like super strong versions of the cards.
Yeah.
Just like better versions of all like the normal draft chaff.
Yeah.
It feels like that's like the Dimir deck compared to Mono Blue. It's like, oh yeah, Kaito is the same as Thassa. In the same way where the Thassa was actually attacking every turn and giving you emblems and stunning your opponent's guys.
And drawing
you cards for
cards
free.
Yeah.
And then Enduring Curiosity is a lot like Biden of Thassa. In the way that Biden of Thassa had Flash, just like Kaito has Flash, and Enduring Curiosity is a creature with like 4 power or
that
something.
undies.
Yeah, and then undies. And then, yeah, Tidebinder Mage is a lot like Flood Pitch Drowner in the same way that Flood Pitch Drowner has Flash, and it gets rid of your opponent's best creature. And
tucks it back into the deck.
It tucks every color, not just red or green. So like, I was like, yeah, these are really good comparisons in the way that they're not. But I was like, it is like not the worst analogy. I used a lot of those same ones to like get older players back into the game, and that's why we have so many old heads at standard now. Like a lot of our standard players are in their 40s, which is awesome for me, because I was always like the young kid back then.
Good, because then that doesn't make me feel old being newly 30.
Yeah, exactly. We're both 30, and so like back then for me, I'm like the new guy. I'm like the teenager playing with all these old guys. They all quit, come back, and I'm like, oh well, I'm your age back then now. What's it called? Yeah. Anyways, a lot of fun.
Before we get into housekeeping,
Sure.
I wanted to get to the fun story now.
Oh,
that
yeah,
wasn't
totally
the fun
forgot.
story.
Hey, you
so
know what? Whatever.
So the good one was
But have fun.
actually the RCQ that I did for Sealed, and it was Sealed.
Oh yeah,
Sealed
is this where
Foundations.
Gabe went with you?
No,
Oh,
I
he
went
wasn't
by
able to
myself.
go. Oh yeah, he couldn't go because he had overtime.
Yeah, so I went to a store that, if you remember, it's in downtown Chicago, and I do not like
Medical Man Gaming.
Nope. It's a store I don't like very much. I actually like Medical Man
Is
gaming.
it? I don't dislike Medical Man gaming.
No, I don't either.
It's just so tight. It's
Yes,
a tuna can.
yes. It's like it's a tiny.
Also, it's First Aid Comics.
Yeah,
I just like Medical Man.
It's tiny play space, but this store I actually don't very like because I think the owner.
It's not Dice Dojo.
No.
Okay, because like Dice Dojo with the no prize support is crazy.
Do you want me to just say it? I was trying to like not.
You don't have
directly
to say it.
DM
I
them on our
don't
podcast.
really want to talk shit about it.
Right,
So
I agree.
I just feel like for me personally, it's weird as a store owner. I hate getting involved with that. Not to cut you off again, but like I get a lot of customers that'll come in and be like, "This other store," and I'm just like, "Okay, man, like, yeah, really? What?" And I'm just taking notes on like what not to do. You know, don't do that. Got it.
Yeah.
But that guy didn't. Oh man, I can't believe that's weird.
Well,
maybe he was having a bad day.
Well, the refresher for why I didn't like it is because when I got there the first time, I was like, "Hey, man, you know, where do I park?" And he's like, "Well, you could park down on that street. It's usually like fine, like there's free parking over there. But if it's not my problem." And I was like,
"Oh yeah, you did tell me about that."
Okay.
And I was like, "That's kind of weird." Like,
and then
I feel like as an owner, you should kind of know where your customers should park.
Yeah, and then in top 8, he like me and my opponent. I was playing against a guy who's on the Pro Tour. I think his name's like Eli Loveman or something.
Okay, sure.
And so we had the grindiest game 1. It took an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, you guys are playing limited, right?
Yeah,
Right. I'm like, an hour.
no. This was Pioneer at the time.
Oh,
This was the first time I went, and I was playing Nib to Light, and he's playing Atraxa combo.
that makes more sense now.
Atraxa
I was
Rona
like,
combo.
an hour game with Tamir. Jesus.
Atraxa Rona combo.
Yeah.
And I exiled all of his Ronas. I killed 2 Atraxas. He milled himself with Tyvar. That's how the game ended. It was like he lost off a Tyvar mill.
Damn.
Like he played all his Tyvars. Anyway,
For those that are just listening and aren't able to look up a card, Tyvar is like he's talking about the Planeswalker that mills cards, and then you can bring back a 2-drop or less from your graveyard.
yeah.
Really good Golgari Tyvar.
Yeah, and so that's how our game 1 ended. The rest of top 8 is finished, and he comes over to us and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna need you guys to play faster for this game."
Oh, that's.
And I was like, "You didn't watch our games." And then the next game, the guy combos me in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Wins. And then he comes over and he goes, I was like, "Oh, we're on game 3. He comboed me," and he goes, "I hope he does it again." And I'm like, "You're the judge of this event.
Yeah.
What do you?"
Yeah.
You can't say that as
You can't say it
as a store owner
and
the
not
judge.
be like funny, you know.
Right.
Like I'll say some off the cuff stuff in the store, but like the delivery matters. Also, like this guy, yeah, like we talked about this. Like he like meant it, was like trying to rush everybody. Also, like was the judge, but also playing commander. Like, I don't understand. That happens. That kind of stuff happens all the time. And then like I get customers coming in, they're like, "Your store is amazing," blah blah blah, and I'm over here like, not that I don't think I do good work. But a lot of times I'm like, man, I wish we had this and blah, blah, blah. And if we had more money, we'd do this and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so
and
you have
so, like,
standards?
I see all the issues. Yeah, exactly. Standards, literally. But, like, I see all the issues, and, like, a lot of customers see what didn't happen to them, which, like, happened to them at another game store that was, like, in some mom's basement, you know? And it's, like, that's so cringe to me. It kind of, like, actually upsets me as an owner now sometimes where I'm like, dude, you can't be giving that kind of service and still exist.
Right.
This is like the post-COVID times.
Well, and it's in downtown, which means his rent's got to be crazy.
Oh, for sure.
It's Wicker Park. So, RCQ Day. And we're doing foundations. It's sealed. And during this sealed section, I don't remember what cards there are, but some cards on the list are in a different section that's not normal. So like the list where you're registering your deck. Normally it's like here's what it was. So all of the new cards in this set for like it's white and then blue and then black, red, green, multicolor artifacts, whatever. All of the new cards were in number order, like brand new number order, and then the reprints came after. And so it wasn't completely alphabetical like it normally is.
That's annoying.
And we figured that out while we're doing like checks. And so this guy who is a limited grinder, he only does limited. And truthfully, he's a real dick. Like old school, like 2013, trying to edge you. He's very rude. He's very rushy. His name's Steven. He's the worst. This guy is just awful. So
Sure.
and so he screams to the store owner. He's like, hey, we just figured this out now. This is absolute bullshit. We need an additional 10 or 20 minutes for deck stuff because of this. This wasn't explained to us. We need more time. And he ignores him the first time. After something else and some more talking, he then is screaming across the room again, we need more time. We need more time. And I was like, okay. And like Raul is there, but he's playing. And so he's
not like running the tournament?
Yeah, and he goes, Raul, come on, you're like a level 3 judge. You should, say something. We should not have. And I was like,
that's crazy.
And so he finally grants us an extension for time, which by the way we didn't need. There was like 2 people that took way too long to build decks, but the rest of us finished in the normal time.
Oh, for deck construction plus registration.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so during that, he goes, like, owner comes over and goes, hey, I need you to come with me.
To the guy?
Yeah.
Please tell me he got disqualified.
And he goes, what? And he goes, no, come with me. Come over here. And he goes to the front of the store, and like, it's not a big store. And so he basically is like, hey man, I understand that this thing came up and that's a problem, but you can't demand things of me like that.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna.
Hey, you know what? Good for that guy, because you got to call him out. I tell Dylan all the time here, like, if a customer is saying some horrific shit to you, say whatever you want. I'll handle it. Like, I've told my employee straight up, because like he had a guy just last week where this guy was like telling Dylan, well, he has a line. I hadn't gotten here yet because I think I was at the middle school doing their game club. He had a line. Some guy was trying to trade in cards. Dylan goes, hey, this is going to take me like an hour just so you know I have to get this line going. The guy goes, I knew this was going to happen. You're wasting my fucking time, blah, blah, blah. And then Dylan's just like taking it. And he told me about it later. He's like, yeah, I'm really frustrated this happened earlier. And I was like, dude, I've told you before, if this happens, you tell him, get out, whatever you want, say whatever you want, curse them out if you want. They give us a review, I'll handle it. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that shit. The customer is not always right. When a customer is an asshole, call them out. It just ruins the experience for everybody, especially the people that are there that are being polite, nice. You gotta handle your community. Like, you can't just let people like that just exist. Because then you get stories like where like this, where you're like, this guy sucks. Nobody likes him. He's an asshole. Nobody calls him out. You gotta call him out. You know what I mean? So I'm glad he did.
And so he calls him out, and he basically is like, you need to chill. You can't be asking these things of me. It's not appropriate. Like, we're going to have problems if you keep harassing
absolutely.
me. And this guy walks back and is like, this is the first time I'm at your store, and you're going to treat me like this? And then he's building his deck. And I was like,
I'd be like, this is the last time you're here. Give him his entry back. Keep the cards.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have done too. I was like, just DQ him.
Yeah, straight up.
Just get him out.
Goodbye.
I told you it was going to be good. That was a...
If it was even number 2, I'd wait. I'd wait for the round 1 pairing. Hey,
it was actually odd. So if he would have kicked him, then it would have been even.
2 buys.
Yeah.
Man,
all right.
That's crazy though. Thanks for the story though. That's actually that's very funny.
Good.
But also horrific. I hate that kind of stuff. Let me tell you, man. If anybody ever does that stuff here, and if you've been here before when it has happened and I've called somebody out, you're welcome. My God, I'm literally like triggered right now. I'm like, my blood pressure is like, I just like dropped 40 pinball balls or whatever they're called. I'm like, I got like, I have blood pressure right now, like one of those like state gamblers. Have you ever seen those videos where these guys like gamble on Twitch all day or whatever? And that's like their job is to just like gamble money away.
Oh my
it's like,
God. No.
Bro, what are you doing? All right, we're not going to talk about that.
All right,
Anyways.
well, while Stan's blood pressure is trying to get down, we're going to do some housekeeping. So first thing first, the Patreon. If you like the show and you want to support the work that we do, please subscribe to our Patreon. It's the best way to support the show. If you do, we have some additional perks that you can check into, such as getting the episode early on Patreon. We are now posting our notes from the show.
Yeah,
finally.
We had a special request where we were going to be posting our notes, but now people are like, can you post the notes early? So we have like a
So it's like
peek.
a preview, sneak peek.
Okay,
This one's going to be real spicy.
Yeah, you're going to love the notes for this one, Julian.
Just so you know.
You're welcome if you already read them.
At the higher tiers, you can get some sideboard guides from us, some coaching, and then beyond that, actually no, that's the top. The top is
Top is like coaching. We'll play your
coaching.
deck. We'll do your cyber guides, etc.
Yeah.
At the top level is basically anything that's asking time of us because we both are very busy, but we will spend the time with you if you're at the top tier, which we have a few people at, and they do use their perks now, and which is nice. Although we do miss you, Christian. We know you've been busy with your move to Nebraska, but whenever you're ready to play test again,
Let's get back on it. There's going to be new stuff
yeah,
coming.
see you
We're
at the Grand
about
Prix.
to talk.
Come visit us. He's back stateside.
And of course, the first time a patron comes onto the Patreon, we shout them out on the show. So Hector, thank you so much for joining
appreciate
our
it, Hector.
Patreon for the first time. We really appreciate it. Also, if you'd like to
Welcome to the. I don't know. I always see the YouTubers do that stuff. I don't know what our we have our club name is. We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out. We're trying to do some new things in the new year. And the new year's getting really close,
figure
so we
it
should
out.
figure that out soon.
Sorry, I got that dog in me. I'm still got that high blood pressure.
But the other way, if you want to join the community, hear a lot of what we're talking about in Standard and Modern and Pioneer. We have a very active Discord.
Yeah.
It is free for you to join.
Free access Discord, and if you want to see me and Devin Slater crash out daily crash out.
Daily. And on top of it, we also have some additional Patreon perks and some special channels in the Discord as well. Lastly, YouTube. Our YouTube's been growing a lot, like 600% or something crazy, like 150 subscribers over the past year. Thank you so much. But we'd really appreciate it if you're watching for the first time. I checked the analytics this week, did not realize 82% of our viewers are not subscribed.
Wow,
So
we have that many viewers.
So if you'd like to
Well, if you're watching, hit that subscribe button, please.
subscribe,
If you're listening now, you want to check.
comment, cry about me.
Comment about anything you want. Comment about a time when somebody did something horrific at your store or the store you were at playing. We want to know your story. If you comment, I promise you I'll read it on the next episode, and we're going to go through stories. If you're seeing this, I will go through all your stories.
Okay,
I
now
promise.
that is a hot segment.
Comment some. I want the worst stories of all time. I want some like, I lost to a girl. Like something
Throwing the
crazy.
table.
You know, I've seen
Yeah,
some
yeah.
crazy stuff in 15 years, but like, you know, you guys give some of your stories for those that are out there, especially if you've been playing longer than me. I know some of our viewers are, been playing since because I think I started during like Scars or maybe a little bit before that. I didn't pay attention too much to the sets when I was new.
Yeah.
I mean, Jarrett, he's been playing since like 6th edition. You know what I mean?
my
He's
gosh.
ancient. He's
Yeah.
basically a fossil.
Yeah, I'm Innistrad Ravnica block. That's
For
my-
sure.
that's
Yeah,
my
and that was such a good standard. That was like right around when I started getting competitive. With that being said, yeah, if you haven't liked, comment, subscribe, please. It helps us so much. Appreciate it. That's pretty much all the housekeeping. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on all the platforms. If you want to give us a like, follow, whatever. It really does go a long way if you want to support us for free. And then always, as always, shout out to the patrons because you're the best.
The best.
Now we can get into
The good.
We can get into it. My vindication, my redemption arc. They finally listened. Actually, I'm a little scared.
It's always stand stakes too. That get. You cast your wide net, shoot your big shot, and then Stan's like, I told you I was right.
Yep. And to that point, because people have been saying that, you cast such a wide net. I'm like, okay, but they unbanned 4 cards. You're welcome. 4 cards.
This feels like
and
Christmas
they could have
for real.
unbanned like 10. I will get into some specifics when we come to talking, especially with Splinter Twin. But we got some crazy unbans. So let's go through it for now.
Yeah, the first one is standard. No changes because it's God's format.
Yeah, exactly. Standard, no changes. What? No changes to standard? The best format? The best format had no changes. They could have unbanned Fable the Mirror Breaker.
I don't know.
Pioneer. For some reason, actually, it's not the worst reason, but for some reason, we'll get into it.
We will get into it.
Pioneer, Gigante the Wellspring, banned. Not the companion mechanic, Giganta.
Good night, Jeff. You were a sweet prince.
I'll be honest, I'm not going to be tired. I'm not going to miss seeing random 5/5s in games that it doesn't belong in. I'm fine with it. But
we'll get into it.
We'll get into it. Modern, the big one. We all knew it was going to happen. Kind of exciting times. I know for a long time I've been a denier. And like we said, we'll get into it. But I was really happy with this because my modern attendance has been like horrific, like eight on average, where I would be getting like 20 people plus moderns. 8 on average is my current attendance for modern.
I know, because I play Star Wars on Thursdays, which is also modern days.
There's been a couple of weeks where Star Wars has more players than modern.
There was the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I've been playing
the last
new stuff.
3 weeks have been so bad. So like, even though I don't think the One Ring is that bad for the format, before Unbans, like I would have unbanned first, but I'm fine with this ban. I'm actually just like ecstatic. Like the last month, I've just been like, this card has to freaking go, especially because it's so cheap now. The card was like $150, and I was like, man, that's a rough ban. Everybody knew it was going to get banned. Modern RCQ season ends. Card tanks like $40. I'm telling everybody, like, hey, this is about as low as it's going to get. It might get a little bit cheaper now that it's banned, but if you're listening, do not sell your One Rings, especially if you got them cheap. Buy One Rings now. It's a Commander staple forever. It didn't get restricted in Vintage. And I'm pretty sure it's not really ever going to be a problem in Legacy. So for Legacy, it's going to be a 4-0 forever, as much as Legacy matters. Sorry, Slater. But for Commander, which is the real ticket, every day there's new Commander players. Every single day, they all want a One Ring in their deck. Every single Commander deck can take a One Ring. And most CEDH decks can honestly really use the card. It's pretty good. But I don't know enough about the format to say every deck would play it, but every casual Commander deck guaranteed could play a One Ring. Nobody would be unhappy. It's like Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, all those cards where it's like, oh, a One Ring? Hell yeah, I'll play that. And like nobody's gonna complain about drawing cards and having protection from everything. I fully expect the card to like start settling in like a year or two at like $100. Calling it now, store owner take, take it for what it is.
This is not a financial podcast.
I could be wrong. Not a financial podcast. This is not financial advice.
No stonks.
Just strong recommendations from your friendly neighborhood boar hat gaming owner. Anyways, Amp Raptor. They actually targeted energy. I honestly was skeptical that they would. If they did, my expectation was Ocelot Pride. I think Amp Raptor is a terrific ban. I think it's actually an excellent choice.
Because Ocelot Pride, well, we'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
Giganta. His sins. Her sins. I don't know. It's an elk. Get him out of here.
Elk mommy?
One companion at a time. Actually, Tommy made an excellent joke. Tommy, if you guys know, he's been on the podcast twice with us. One's without video. He's a long time guy. He goes,
right.
Hey, they banned a bunch of even numbered cards, and they banned a companion. It's Obosh's time to shine. Faithless Looting plus Phage. Speaking of which, Faithless Looting is back. I know. We wanted to do this. I'm so sad we didn't do this. Josh was like trying to beg me, and Sal too. Like, hey, let's do a video where you talk about your takes on the ban list, because I'm like the one that's always talking about unbanning modern cards.
Right.
And we literally on Discord did a whole session with Jared. We're like, this card, yes or no? This card, yes or no? Why? And Jared and I were arguing about a couple cards that we disagreed on, and it was a really fun time. He's like, we should have recorded this and posted it on YouTube. I was like, yeah, maybe we'll get to it. We didn't. This happens. So freaking cool. Faithless Looting, I was actually skeptical of. For reasons that we'll get into, but the fact that they gave it to us, now that it's here, I'm like, I'm never going to get my blood pressure down. I'm freaking out.
I'm never going to get my blood pressure. The birds are coming back for me.
Mox Opal, unbanned, redeemed. Green Sun Zenith, unbanned. That's so crazy. And then, of course, long time coming, should have happened a while ago, Splinter Twin is back in the format, baby. Oh, it's a good time to be a modern player.
The only thing that really scared me was I was watching like Spike Brew today.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he put together that I immediately was like,
was it the FOMO Splinter Twin?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
When I saw FOMO and Splinter Twin together, I was like, oh
Yeah.
no.
I saw a list and I was like, I don't know if I like it. Like it was like DRC, Ragavan, FOMO, Splinter Twin. And I was like, I don't know if this is where I'd start with Splinter Twin, but it's definitely a cool deck because Splinter Twin and FOMO, calling it now, really, really good friends. But historically, Spirit Twin was like a really good like control deck. It was like a blue-red control shell that like had that combo to it, you know? And so that's why sometimes they'd play like Jeskai, you get Path to Exile back in the day, you'd get Supreme Verdict. They were sideboarding like Keranos for like winning the mirror match and stuff like that. It's supposed to be kind of a grindy deck. I mean, we used to like sideboard Batterskull and Spirit Twin back in the day. I mean, these are like old technologies for like old modern.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. I did see that deck list. Josh was really excited about it. He sent it to me. Just like 12 other people. Every time anything happens in Magic, I like wake up to like 400 messages. Yeah. So I'm always like, well, I guess spend my morning bathroom break like this. I feel like Jim Carrey, you know, Bruce Almighty.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
like that. That's literally every morning for me, especially on like a BNR day. Okay.
Actually,
Legacy. Go ahead.
I made a no, it's dumb. I just made a Bruce Almighty joke yesterday. Like, I was at a. I love that movie. I was at a friend's, and they made soup, and you know, I'm playing Commander with the kids, and you know, we're playing fishbowl and having wine and like just having a good time. But when I got the soup, they didn't show me where the like utensils were, and I was like, "Excuse me, can I have a spoon?" And then like she went to go get one, and I was like, "Can I have a spoon?" Never mind, I got it.
Never mind. That's funny. Oh man, I love Jim Carrey. Great movie.
Same.
That's
That's why I wanted to do acting. It's Jim Carrey.
Hey,
For real.
Fun fact. I actually didn't know that. I mean, it's a holiday season. For those who haven't seen that movie, watch it with your family. It's a great time. I actually saw that in theater with my now stepdad before he became my stepdad. Like when I was really young.
Oh, okay.
I love that movie. Legacy. Shoutouts to Slater again and all the Legacy fans. Jared.
Come back, please.
I love you. I miss you. I love you. I miss you. Legacy. Psychic Frog. Should have been banned the first time. We all knew this was going to happen. It's gone. Thank God. Good riddance. He is risen. He is real. He can be played in Modern. Get him out of Legacy. Vexing Bauble. For those who don't know what that is, very, very strong card in Legacy. It is like a Soul Guide Lantern, basically. 1 mana, players can't cast free spells, and it can draw you a card for 1 mana. And normally you'd be like, oh, that's a really fair card. It's really nice. That card was really, really oppressive for Legacy. And the format's kind of built around Forcible at this point. Forcible is like almost like a fair card in that format at this point.
It's what keeps the crazy stuff in check.
It keeps the crazy stuff from happening. It also was enabling too many decks that were like, I can stop you from ever interacting with me. Now I can do whatever combo I want. You know, Painter's Servant was getting really good. I actually just played Legacy this weekend because we were odd numbered for our Legacy monthly event that we do here. Proxy friendly, by the way. Come show up. And I played 12 posts because Sal had that put together, and I was playing Vexing Bobble and Disruptor Flute, and I was like, this is amazing. Like what? Like you can't do anything to me. Turn off your Force Will. Turn off your Force Will. Turn off your Force Will. Tron. It was awesome. But anyways, those are the major changes. The list goes on.
One thing, speaking of Jared, him and I were Jared.
Okay.
We were on a call on Discord, and I was playing League.
Sure.
And he was like, "Hey, so have you gotten a teammate yet for February for like the energy team?"
Oh, is he coming?
I don't know, but I was like,
"Are you coming back, Papa?"
Yeah, but I was like, "Do you really think I think that far ahead?" No.
Not without you, Jared. We don't think about anything.
Yeah, like come the end of January, I'll start to briefly have an inkling.
If you see this, Jared,
and
and you do plan on coming, and it's not like a super horrendous weekend for the store where I can't leave Todd by himself, I would be down for a team event if you're coming home. If you're coming home for a little bit.
I don't know what I need to do. Beg, rub Todd's feet, but you got to come.
It's just our lease is up in March, so it's rough. It's a rough time for us. I'm very, very busy. Anyways, Vintage, no changes. People thought the One Ring was going to get restricted. That's the only reason why I mention it. Alchemy, Explorer, Giganta, see you later.
Alchemy, anyone ask?
Any
askers?
Who? Historic, no changes. Timeless, no changes. Timeless is pretty cool. Play Timeless. Try it out. Brawl, no changes. Who cares?
Any
Frank
askers?
has. Go ahead.
Any askers?
Any askers?
Wrong.
Oh, it's like the. Have you seen the Agatha All Along?
No.
There's like a part where she's like a cop, and the guy's like, "I was home on Saturday night," and she's like, "I need a pen." It's like she's like, "Total loser or totally lying." I don't know why. That's why I feel that right now. But anyways, Frank has a much more sultry voice than I do, or I think I was told sultry is the wrong word. He has a radio
Sultry
voice,
means
kind of
sexy.
I think it's sexy. Frank's a twink, but he's hot. I mumble and also have a terrible voice in my own opinion. So Frank's going to read off this article for us, and then we're going to agree or disagree or talk about some of the points that they made. And yeah, let's get into it. We might not cover all of these, but we definitely want to cover some of it. I specifically want to see what their points are for Modern and Pioneer. So why don't we skip the standard one since like...
The one that says no changes?
The one that doesn't have any changes? It's also like amazing. I don't want to hear them jerking themselves off about like, oh yeah, we did such a good job. We did such a good job. Here's our article about it. We don't care.
You took the Pioneer.
Who said
first
that?
part,
I think it was just the word.
Oh, it's just the word.
Pioneer. Giganta's banned. Let's hear why. Let's hear why they banned it.
Written by someone.
Aria, for those that don't know.
Yeah. We have monitored... Gigantha the Wellspring is banned. We have monitored the Pioneer metagame closely since our last banned and restricted announcement, and it has looked healthy and diverse. The format has a variety of macro archetypes, and all the major decks are well within an acceptable win and play rate. While deck diversity looks good, we believe Gigantha the Wellspring is hurting the format's diversity by reducing the pool of viable cards for many decks. Gigantha is played in many Pioneer decks, appearing as a companion for most decks that can cast it and don't have key cards that violate its companion restriction. The value of having access to an extra card in games where resources are tight means most decks that can play Gigantha do, regardless of how it fits into their strategy. This homogenizes the cards that these decks play, with top-end cards in particular suffering. It is hard to justify playing a personal favorite card or a meta-game specific call if it means giving up Gigantha. It is important to us that Pioneer remains a place where players can use their favorite cards from Standard, and Gigantha does a lot to prevent this. Geez. As many of our more powerful cards aimed at Standard tend to have more than one same mana symbol in their costs for balance. In the interest of increasing card diversity in the format, Gigantha the Wellspring is banned in Pioneer.
In the interest of diversity. Okay.
So
I only like that last line because like when Splinter Twin got banned, what was it? It was like in the interest of like, oh man, I can't remember anymore. But it was like such a like a poignant line, like in the interest of like Modern or something. Splinter Twin is banned forever. And we're like, no, why? But anyways, I think you talked about this earlier in the store, and I really liked the point you made. And this is the first time I'm hearing this. I didn't read the article because
I did.
I wanted to do it now and like have it fresh. I agree with you. You said they talk about how Gigantha is like restricting diversity, but they don't really tell you how.
Yeah.
And I have big issues with that. They don't have I wish they would have pointed to at least two specifics. Like, oh, this card and this card are not getting any play, but they could go in these archetypes or these sideboards, but they're not because of Gigantha. Like, at least give me one.
Right, because I think that if they did 20 minutes of research to be like, okay, what other cards are in the format that have more than one color that aren't being played? Julian actually brought this up when I made that comment. He's like, the only one that I can think of is Valgavoth. Is like people can't do transmog, Valgavoth things and have Gigantha. But that was my beef, was that I understand their point, and I actually think that it's a good one. I don't like the fact that like Rakdos aggro and all these decks.
Yeah, every aggro deck just has Gigantha because they're like, ooh, if I run out of gas, I have a 5/5.
Yeah, if I
that was what I was talking about earlier.
I
was bored of that.
Right. It is really boring, but they don't really explain what cards are being restricted, and that I think would have been like really interesting. Like even just like higher spike, who just all he does is look at decks and cook and be like, could you figure out some decks that might
You could have just
some
messaged him
cards that
and,
slot
like, give him a
better
shout out.
into these Giganta decks if we didn't have Giganta?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, cool, give me 2 days.
He wouldn't
Here's
even
great
need-
options.
yeah.
Like,
He wouldn't even need 2 days. If you go like, hey, DM, any decks you think aren't, any cards you don't think are getting played, I'm sure he'd respond in an hour.
yeah, and,
like, he could
and then be like, here's
boom, boom,
200.
boom,
Thank
boom,
you so much for the research. Here's $200.
You don't even pay him. You just give him a shout out. Hey, I talked to Spike in the article. You go, I talked to Spike. He said this. I agree. I disagree. I mostly agree. Give us something. You know what I mean? I feel like this article was just so lazily written. No offense to the writer. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I just like, this doesn't say anything to me. And the thing is, like, it should have been easy because I agree with you. I agree that Giganta is problematic for Pioneer and would only continue to get worse. I just wish they would reference some cards like, I'm trying to think, like, I don't think Eidolon is legal. Oh, Eidolon of the Great Row is legal. If Pioneer was a more similar to modern format, like back in the day where like there was so many low cost spells, you could be like, oh, none of the aggro decks play Eidolon because it's double pipped, you know, something like that. I would be like, okay, that's something, you know, and I haven't been playing enough Pioneer because it doesn't really matter right now to like have like strong references in my head. I know, I'm so sorry. Pioneer is so
Stop
good.
saying it. It hurts every
I saw
time.
like the last 6 shorts he posted about Pioneer, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
It's like, damn, man, I miss Pioneer.
Well, and we talked about it in the store today about how Pioneer's a dead format, and I, like
Will was like, Pioneer's dead format
for the next year, and I was like,
One
it's
year.
so sad. It's so sad. I actually like that. The only thing that I think could be cooking for energy is that it makes me want to go to energies if Pioneer will be available.
Oh, I
You
know. I
what
was
I
thinking the
mean?
same
Like
thing.
I'm
I
like,
was like, Norm
oh,
is gonna
man.
capitalize on these
Like,
Pioneer events so
Norm,
hard.
please save me. I'll come. I'll bring my decks.
Every weekend has to have a Pioneer 10K or something, whether it's Saturday or Sunday. Like
Yeah.
that's free eats.
free eats.
Because the Pioneer players want to go somewhere, they want to play,
Right.
And especially the people that are grinding the format when it's not popular should get rewarded for that.
I agree.
If there's enough attendance, obviously, you know, businessman first. But
Sure.
yeah, I don't know. I obviously there's not really a lot to talk about. I just wish there was more specifics. I wish that we had come up with some. I didn't want to read it first, so I probably would have spent some time coming up with specifics today. Although it was pretty busy. It is currently midnight. I just finished running the store. We closed the event at 11, so yeah, we got a lot of people for Standard now.
Yeah, the thing that I did want to say that is my only like saving grace for, or like where I'll take it easy on you for
Sure.
Wizards is that kind of how we talk about like power creep and like with other cards that are kind of come into the format, like how like some cards can come back and they're actually really good.
Sure.
That's my thought. Is like we were talking about it today with Yorion, and I think his name's Adam, was talking about how Yorion was going to get the next chopping block, and I was like, I actually really agree with that take because I think Yorion and Pioneer, like now that we have Overlords and you can flicker those, that like we're getting close to the point where like 80 card decks will be better than 60 card decks just because you have a Yorion, and I think that will be true for Wizards. Is they can go, we can look at Pioneer and make some cards in Standard that might be good for Pioneer that will not be restricted by Giganta being in the format.
Oh, 100%.
And that's where I'm like, okay, it's better for card design. I'm all in because they even say like some cards are so powerful that we make them double pipped or like have multiple mana symbols because of their power. It's like that's a restriction.
Yeah. It
is
has
the
to be.
additional.
It has to, and that was always like the case. You should never restrict yourself from making one card because of another. That was always my reasoning for like the modern bans, where I was like, Stoneforge is banned, we should unban it. And like in 2016, even back then, I thought it should be unbanned. People would be like, well, what if they print an equipment that's like so busted? Then you ban it after. You know what I mean? That's why I know a lot of people don't like it, and I know we talked about it on the podcast when we had George Jabor on. To me, the Gogara Grave Troll thing was a success. They unbanned the card when it was not problematic. It spent 2 years in the format. And then it became problematic with Shadows of Innistrad and a lot of cards getting into the format. And then they were like, oh, yeah, not only is this too good now with these cards, the rest of the format can't handle it. There's not enough hate. We're not going to print the hate anytime soon. Get rid of it. You know what I mean? But like now, if you look at Dredge, completely unplayable. Faithless Looting gets unbanned. Maybe Dredge makes a little bit of a comeback with Faithless Looting. That's cool. Like Faithless Looting is a kind of a nice unban because it hits multiple decks, especially archetypes that are like currently just
super
completely
mega dead.
unplayable.
Yeah, mega dead.
Which is nice. I was afraid of it and a little apprehensive only because I thought that turn 2 persist might be crazy. They seem to agree, and actually I think at this point I do agree as well because since like a couple months ago when we did that thing where I talked about like the bans and unbans, creativity is like unplayable in modern, and part of that was the One Ring, but even after it's like, oh, this is completely fine. Our kind of cruelty is not good enough, and that's like the best thing you can persist into in like the format besides like Sarah's Emissary. And I don't think those cards on turn 2 are scary enough that like decks can't handle them. Frank's gonna do a thing, so.
Water because it's a lot to read.
Oh, Frank is getting a water, even though I asked him before we started if he wanted a water, and he was like, "No, I'm good. I have a raspberry sweet tea."
I needed the caffeine because it's midnight and I got to go to the office tomorrow.
It's cool. It's cool. I just want to make sure I stay on point. But yeah, so like I was worried about Faceless Looting, but I think it's a good unban, and it's I kind of forgot the point I was making, but it is what it is. If you guys are listening to this part of the episode and I was talking about something, feel free to comment and hey, what was the response to it? Because I don't have time to go back and remember.
But you were talking about persist, turn 2 persist, and how
Yeah,
you thought
I was
could
a
be
little
too
scared
scary.
of Faithless Looting being too good, but oh yeah, the Gorgar Gravestone thing. I saw that as a success. So to your point, Gigantha banning it now. Fine. It's already problematic in its own way. I'm actually surprised, like you mentioned, Yoran being next. I'm surprised Yoran wasn't already banned, and Gigantha went first, which is kind of cool because it was backwards, obviously in Modern since it just left the format. Obviously for Modern we just had way more tools, so Yoran was like immediately broken, and then Up the Beanstalk was also a thing, which that's neither here nor there, but yeah, I think I agree with your point a lot, and I never want them to be restricted on design. Like, design a card if you think it's good, if you think it's healthy, if you think it's fun, make the card. If it breaks another card, bans have to be okay. But at the same time, I am always like, okay, but be willing to like unban a card as much as you're willing to ban a card, and also like Julian talked about in the Discord, be willing to ban a card fast. If we think it's a problem now, if it's ruining attendance. Just get rid of it. You know what I mean? Like the One Ring, I think they waited a little too long on. Nadu,
18
way
months.
too long on.
Yeah, I felt like Nadu was too long. Like Nadu was like
they
2.5 months.
After the Pro Tour, and they were like, oh, well, maybe, no. Like, that thing had to go. It killed so many events.
Yep.
And honestly, it ruined my time at our team event. I was like, Nadu. And I guess I'll play this fun Tron deck for a day.
Well, yeah, and it ruined my first half of the RCQs. Like, I could only make during a certain time frame, like the first part of Modern and the second part. And I remember like missing top 8 against Nadu because they just like top decked. Like I played the removal game on like Demir Frogtide, and like they just like ripped it off the top and was like.
Yeah, at the team event, I almost went undefeated against Nadu too. Like the final guy that beat me got like a top deck win like that, and I was just like, "This deck is unbearable."
Well, and that guy.
It's so funny because last night I had a vintage cube draft with Nadu in it with Josh, and I was like, "This card's fucking horrific. Play it." And he had a Stoneforge. We're equipping stuff to it, man. Let's go.
Well, and that guy said to me as he was like beating me, he's like, "Yeah, no one really has fun when Nadu's being played." As he's like beating my ass with it,
Hey,
and
man,
I was like,
"Respect."
I was like,
"He's right."
I mean, okay, cool.
We already talked about this, but it's like, listen, if you're playing and you think a deck is the best deck, you should be playing it. Nadu is just so horrific. But yeah, to the point.
The last thing I'll say about Gigantha, what will be missed for me is that in like the Gigantha lists that we're doing, like Transmogrify stuff, you could use Gigantha to cast. Like
tap.
Yeah, and using Gigantha for the mana ability, super cool. Just having it as a 5/5, not cool.
Not cool. Yeah, I remember when Tron was playing it for a half a day. Can't do that anymore. In Modern, because we were playing Golos, and you could Golos with a Gigantha. That was really fun. But they also had Cascading Cataract, so even if you wanted to, you could do it without Gigantha. It wasn't necessary. And also Tron playing Gigantha, I'll be honest, man. Every time there was a Gigantha in my Tron deck in Modern, I hated it. I hated it so much. It's not a Karn target. It's not a good card. Sure, I can mulligan to 3 now, but like a 5/5 in modern, that's a meme. And I could already mulligan to like 3 or 4 in modern with with Tron anyway. Whatever. With that being said, let's jump into some modern because there's way more to talk about.
Oh, buckle up. This is a lot to read. Going into this announcement, it was clear that Modern needed the most help among our competitive formats. Our previous actions in August addressed the most glaring issue with the format Nadu Winged Wisdom. But things haven't gotten much better. We analyzed a handful of options to try and get the format into a spot that our players would enjoy and be excited about. However, we felt more was needed. Our players are the backbone of competitive Magic. We observe tournament results, analyze the metagame. We can observe tournament results, analyze the metagame, and dig into win rate numbers all day long, but it's all of you who are playing these formats, and at the end of the day, it is our job to ensure you're having as much fun as possible. Modern isn't the same format it was years ago. There are several cards we banned years ago. Since then, several new sets have been released. Specifically, Modern Horizons sets have made a sizable impact on the format. As such, we've decided it was time to set free a handful of cards. We'll start by talking through each banning, then we'll move on to the cards that will be unbanned.
You want to pause really quick? This is actually a really long article, so I want to dive into what he just said there before he talks about the bans and unbans.
Okay.
Let's just break it up. I really like that line where they were like, the players matter more than whether or not the card is actually broken. I super agree with that line because that's exactly how I felt and what I kind of just said earlier in a different way. I didn't think the One Ring was like broken in Modern. It's definitely borderline, but for the power level of the format, I thought it was to par. Like that was, and obviously it had high representation, but like you could argue that's like it's colorless, and you could argue there's other ways to fix it, right? But when I looked at the attendance numbers, I was like, it doesn't matter what I think anymore. Nobody's fucking playing Modern.
No one wants to.
Get rid of it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. It's the same with like Second Sunrise. Obviously, we could unban that card, but Jared and I, like we said, when we did that like session on Discord, you never unban Second Sunrise because eggs is horrific. If you ever have an egg second in your format, you're going to have a terrible time. It's the same reason why top can't come back, because people just sit there for 10 minutes playing top wrong, and you just have to take 80-minute rounds every tournament. It's bad. It's bad for the game. And when you have attendance numbers, that kind of speak for themselves. It should be obvious. I wish they knew this when they didn't ban Nadu, but at least, lesson learned, hopefully. Going forward, I'd like to see them be more willing to ban cards like we talked about. And at the same time, like he said at the end, hey, we've had 3 Modern Horizons and you've completely changed the format landscape. Give us back some cards. 3 times. And each time cards got banned as a result. Every single time a Modern Horizons comes out, cards get banned. And the format gets warped. Like we've had Holgak, and then we had Oko Ursa. Like it's like really bad that they can't handle it. And then they're also not willing to just ban cards or unban or like try stuff right away. Give yourself the opportunity to ban and unban, even if you're doing it on a monthly scale. Like, remember Pioneer when it first came out? They were like,
not here, but yes.
Fair enough. Will even talked about this tonight at Standard, and I really liked the point. He's like, they should just reset Modern the same way they did with Pioneer because there's just too much going on with Modern Horizons. When Pioneer first came out, they were like, hey, listen, we don't want to ban anything besides the fetch lands. We know the format's going to be fucked up, but we're going to ban cards. So be advised. We're going to be banning cards. We're going to be unbanning cards. We're going to test stuff out. Obviously, COVID kind of ruined it. That's whatever. But I wish they had that same mentality, that same like willingness to experiment with the format. And I think Modern needs it more than ever. You could argue like the whole game needs it besides Standard because it's the best format. But like they should keep that philosophy. Like one of the games Frank and I play all the time together is League of Legends. That game gets patched like once a week, whether it's like a minor tweak or whatever. I think Magic, especially for the non-rotating formats, is getting to that point where like Modern needs to be touched on or at least looked at monthly. Or at least give yourself the opportunity to.
It's a small indie company.
Oh yeah,
you think they're gonna pay?
They're so poor. No, sorry.
Poor, brother.
Sorry. Elon's gonna buy Hasbro or whatever, and then MSNBC, and then he's gonna sell Twitter to me, and then I'm gonna buy Blue Sky. And also, if you're on Blue Sky, I'm sorry. Like, just
come on.
Listen,
No,
I'm not using Rumble. I'm not using Blue Sky.
Wrong.
I don't even like Twitter. I don't like Reddit.
wrong.
Just stop pretending it's a real platform.
I agree.
Use YouTube. Yeah, so like to the point there, I really like that they banned it, obviously. And I like the reasoning for the ban. I love that line specifically. I think it was really good. I think it was poignant. Kudos to them.
Doesn't matter if cards are good. It's got to be fun to play.
Exactly.
For like the room.
If the card kicks the room out, then you have a different issue.
Different issue.
And it doesn't matter if the format is perfectly balanced. Actually, nobody wants to freaking play. So get them out of here. I'll let you get into let's talk about the first card. Maybe read the paragraph for it, and then we can stop there. Talk about one card at a time.
Yes. It's no secret that the One Ring has been a large part of the modern metagame since its introduction 18 months ago, which that to me was wild. I was like, oh, wow, it has been that long.
18 months, yeah.
Yeah. In the August announcement, we had stated that there was a dominant One Ring deck and that it appeared in a variety of strategies, even propping up some more fringe archetypes. While it does appear in many different archetypes, it has also solidly become a part of the most dominant strategy in modern Boros energy.
Yeah.
The opportunity cost of including the One Ring is nearly any deck is too low, and its presence in the events has become tiresome for many players. Acting as a tool for self-preservation and a source of card advantage, it requires no commitment to any particular color. We believe it is clear, as it has been for many of you, that Modern would be a more enjoyable format without its inclusion, and thus the One Ring is banned in Modern.
Based and red-pilled. 100% accurate. If you are a firm believer that the card should have got banned because of power level, that is the main argument. It is homogenizing to the format. It is non-restrictive color-wise. It is a free include in decks that it shouldn't be. Obviously, you could argue Amtractor was part of that problem because of the free spells off the energy. But the fact that Boros Energy, which was the best deck and the most aggressive deck we've probably ever seen in Modern, ever, was like, oh yeah, we want that. We want that card that says protection, because it draws you so many cards. I really liked the One Ring for decks that were like high-end ramp decks that were already struggling. Obviously, I'm a Tron player, so it's a little bit biased, but like when decks like Amulet and Tron, and all, because like for a while Tron was just like unplayable. Tron, Amulet, all these like late game decks were like just getting pushed out. Even like Control, for example. The One Ring to me felt like a card that could keep them in the game because of how relevant it was.
Yeah.
But it quickly just became more and more about like every strategy is just like finding a way to make their deck fit that card in to support their strategy that's already good enough without it.
Good enough without
You know what
it.
I mean? Like Boros was crushing without the One Ring. And then people were like, oh, well, why don't we just mainboard the sideboard One Ring? And then why don't we just make it like 2 or 3 of them and then not sideboard it and then just play the One Ring? And then I was like, oh, yeah.
And then it felt like the deck could never run out of gas.
Yeah, exactly.
And because sometimes it felt like, oh, you could turn the corner because it was running out of gas, like most aggro decks, and then it wasn't because of the One Ring.
100%.
So it was like,
I watched more than one game where somebody amp Raptored on turn 2 into a One Ring and just went whoop, and literally, like I'm watching, spectating, and then both players, the 3 of us, unison, and like you're playing Rock Band, everybody has 8 stars. Oh, game's over. Let's play it out. It was never worth playing out, even one time.
it was never worth playing out.
It's just a waste of time. It's like this guy's going to draw 10 cards. You're playing a mirror match. Go. You know what I mean? Like unbelievable. Amp Raptor, we're going to get into pretty soon. But what a horrific card. I actually think I've got a sneak peek of the article here. We were talking about some of the reasonings. And man, does WotC deserve some flame for Amp Raptor, because apparently they didn't test energy enough. So like to your point of earlier, it's like hire Spike, hire Sam Black, hire whomever, anybody,
almost anyone.
Dude, I'll come over.
Even Tandy.
I'll come hang out.
Even Tandy,
whoever. Hire anybody. Fire Shoes, Goblin Ringleader. Dude, I'll send you Todd. Test the cards out, please. I'm pretty sure they get to a point where they're like, yeah, when we were testing Modern Horizons, also Pride and Johnny were really good, signifying that they basically were testing out cat decks and not Boros. It was like, yeah, Yeah, they are pretty good. Remember Flage, the guy you put in the same set? That kind of makes me feel like when they messed up and put Splinter Twin in standard with Saheeli Rai and Felder Guardian, and they were like, yeah, guys, we're going to be honest, we missed it. Dude, it took 6 seconds into spoiler season for us to be like, hey, Splinter Twin's in standard when Felder Guardian got spoiled in Aether Revolt. And they were like, oh, yeah, we missed that. How do you miss that? Timmy, who just started playing Commander last week, was like, did you see this? Splinter Twin got put in standard? And I'm just like, that's cool. And honestly, that standard was so bad. Well, I liked it because of other reasons. But that standard was so bad that they put Splinter Twin in the format, and it wasn't even the best deck. They had to ban like 3 other cards. And then they ruined the format. It was awesome. But yeah, we're going to get into that, obviously. But One Ring. Next... Well, what's the next card? Let us know, Frank.
It is Unwrapping.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Removing the One Ring is certainly a hit on Boros Energy, Modern's most played and most consistently dominant deck. But it also impacts several other strategies. We'd like to ensure that we reduce the overall win and play percentages of Boros Energy directly, though we don't want to eliminate it from the format like we did most recently with Nadu Winged Wisdom. We considered many cards in deciding how to knock Boros Energy down a few pegs with Guided Souls, Ajani, Nakatl Pariah, and Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury among them.
Really? They didn't even consider Ocelot Pride.
However,
that was the one for me.
we landed on Amped Raptor. Each of those options could reasonably be included in a few other archetypes, while Amped Raptor only appears in Boros Energy. Amped Raptor allows for some of the deck's most explosive starts, acting as an energy enabler and a payoff, and often amounting to an extra 1 to 4 mana in the early turns of the game. So Amped Raptor is banned in Modern.
Is there another paragraph there?
Nope, that ended really quick.
That is incredibly short for how much more I was expecting. What's the next? Is the next one just straight up the next card?
Gigantha.
Go, read it. Read it. We need more. We need more context.
Okay. As far as banning Gigantha the Wellspring, many of the same reasons are Arya? The writer?
Oh, Arya. Yeah.
Arya. Thank you. I was like, sorry, the midnight brain is like not reading tonight.
Arya explained above.
Yeah, many of the same reasons Arya explained above apply to Modern. Ultimately, the decision to avoid cards that have more than one of the same mana symbol isn't a very interesting or fun one to make. By making a couple swaps in deck building, you can get access to a mostly free 5/5, earning you a couple of percentage points in the win column. This reduces the pool of options you might consider when building decks, which in turn makes for an overall less diverse format. Gigantha is clocking in at around 40% of all Modern decks, from Energy to Zoo and several more fringe strategies. To reduce the dominance of Boros Energy and increase the amount of diverse card choices available in Modern, Gigantha, the Wellspring, is banned.
Yes. Okay, I'm less mad about it in this article, but it's the same thing. Give us some specifics. At least with this, they reference like decks, like 40% of the meta. Because I play more Modern than Pioneer, I'm like, yep, I know. Yep, this. Domain Zoo. They do the list of decks. I never have to sleep at Gigantha again. I'm so happy. I do not like Gigantha. I don't like that card. I think the card is so boring. That is like the epitome of a boring card. Every time I put it in Tron, I hated it. Domain Zoo, all these decks playing Gigantha, like we talked about, double pip cards. I want to play double pip cards. And like Chalice, every time I played Tron, I hated like being like, oh, we're in game 2. I'm playing against Living End. I don't have Gigantha this game. Oh, we like both have to pretend I didn't bring in Chalice of the Void. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the only time I ever played Gigantha was when I was playing. I mean, I might have played it other times, but the one I can remember is when I was playing Gruul Vehicles for a minute in Pioneer.
That was a hot deck for like a minute, yeah.
It was, and you'd side Gigantha out so Embercleave could come in from the board.
Right.
So it'd be like, Gigantha is no longer my companion.
It's not even like you're siding it out. You're like, oh, I don't have Gigantha anymore. You have to like...
Right. I don't have Gigantha.
Yeah.
Just letting you know.
Just so you know.
That means I've got some spice.
Yeah. You have a companion? And because of that, I think the way they changed the rule, like you don't have to announce it after game 1. So like now you have to unannounce it. It's like, let me just tell you what's in my deck. I I don't know. I just thought it was just so cringe. At least for this one, they gave it a little bit more specifics.
Yeah, I liked that at least for Amp Raptor, the big thing, right? The starts were incredibly explosive when it could do the thing, and I liked them referencing energy as mana, being like giving an additional
100%.
1 to 4 mana at the beginning of the game.
And the amount of damage you got, like Revolt Zoo for whenever that was a deck a long time ago, that was like one of the most horrific, scary, like actual like nightmare fuel for Tron, and that would be like if anybody brought Revolt Zoo, like I knew there was like a kid that was playing Revolt Zoo during like the modern locals at the time. I'm like, oh man, I really have to be ready for this guy, and like Pyroclasm might not do it. Fire Spouts is a turn 3 card. I'm dead. It's like unwinnable, right? Worse than Burn. And Amped Raptor is like Revolt Zoo, like on steroids. It's like, you have to like not die by turn 4, and then maybe you can beat me. But I'm gonna go Ocelot Pride into this guy with an Aether Hub, or Guide of Souls, which makes it worse, right? And then you're gonna get, I'm gonna get this guy, and then my Ajani hopefully, or whatever comes off the top of the deck. And then I'm just going to have 4 guys or whatever on turn 2 and have attack 2 go. I'm like, oh no. It's not even like they're like 2/2 whatever. It's like with Revolt 2 where I'm like, oh, these guys are vanillas now that they're in play. It's like a Johnny. He's cracked. Amp Raptor has like first strike, I'm pretty sure.
First strike.
Like ridiculous. Guide of Souls is such a powerful card. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the card. I wanted to stay in Modern, but Guide of Souls is so powerful in combination with these guys. So like Amped Raptor, get a Johnny, net 0, trigger, 2 more energy back. Now I'm gonna attack, use 3 energy to make my guy stronger, and it flies. Like, whoa, whatever, man. Just ridiculous. And you can tell it wasn't play tested because that just shouldn't have existed. If anything, if they wanted to make Amp Raptor, should have made 1 mana on ETB or something. And even then, that's probably still way too good.
Still probably too good.
Yeah, still, like, literally. It's just way too. It could have been that it's just a payoff, and maybe it makes no energy, so you must combo it with Guide of Souls. But yeah, there's just no way to make that card good without making it too good, and weak where it's not too weak. So good riddance, definitely problematic. And then it's funny that in this portion of the article where he literally does what we just said that Arya should have done in her part, where it's like, so she said this in addition to what she said. I agree. This, and here's some data. Thank you. Arya should have done the same thing. Yeah, so I talked to some of my boys, and or like I think she's like on a team. She's on a team with Emma Handy, I'm pretty sure, and like some other people. Like I talked to some of my friends. They all stream competitively. They used to play tournaments as SCG grinders. I'm pretty sure that's like the same squad. They said this. I kind of tested it out. I agree. Here's why. Give me like 1 card reference,
One.
Anything.
Just give us some references.
This guy's got like a whole like this guy wrote this guy's Homer over here. He wrote like the Iliad, and she wrote like 2
This
paragraphs.
is the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, literally.
We're gonna steal we're gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
But like, yeah, the other one was like 2 paragraphs. It didn't feel like an article.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep shitting on it at this point, but like, we can continue, I suppose.
The bans above should do a decent job of making Modern more fun and balanced. But could it be even better? When we ban cards, we tackle problems as they arise, using tournament data and community feedback to navigate the format into a better place. This combination of objective and subjective reasoning has its flaws. Namely, the more sets released into a given format, the more powerful it becomes. We've examined several cards on the banned and restricted list and reintroduced some to the Modern format. It is worth noting that this is the beginning of a new era. Many of you have given feedback time and again about the good old days of Modern, before Modern Horizon sets started, increasing the power level of the format and making iconic decks obsolete. After a long consideration, we've chosen an initial list of cards to unban. We'll closely monitor how these cards impact competitive Modern events over the upcoming regional championship season, and come March 31st, 2025, evaluate how things are looking. Did we make Modern a better place? Can we handle a wave of nostalgic and infamous cards to re-enter Modern? Was there something we released that's making Modern less fun? Only time will tell. So let's get into it.
Ooh, I love that. Actually, I like that because we were like all arguing on Discord this morning about like the bans and unbans and our thoughts, and like obviously like Julie and I had agreements. One of the things Slater said was like, I don't like that they're waiting this long for Modern. You shouldn't let them cook that long. I'm like, no, you gotta let them cook. They just gave us 4 cards. That is so much. Like you can't just like, oh yeah, we tried it 2 weeks and get rid of it. Like it's like there's no way. You have to let it cook, even if it sucks a little bit, which is fine. We gotta eat our vegetables sometimes, you know. And I know I just talked about like being more willing to ban,
And not, dude.
but yeah. The fact that they're saying like we want this to be what the regional looks like, because listen, anything was better than what we had. So if this is bad or not as good, it's not going to be worse than what we had.
Right.
And it might not be better, but I think it will be for just for clarity. I think it will be, but they just didn't even mention the cards specifically. There's like, here's the 4 cards, right? So like I like it. Time will tell. Let them cook. March 31st is very specific to me, even though it's a long time away, 4 months. I think it's a good time frame because the only real major event that impacts is the regional. Besides that, it's a standard RCQ season. It's a standard MagicCon. It's a standard everything. Standard Pro Tour. Standard everything. Oh, I love it. Seriously, though, like it's all standard. It's not going to affect anything but the regional. Maybe it affects a couple like local stuff, like NRG events. That could hurt, but like it can't be, like I said, attendance cannot be worse than what it was.
Right.
If anything, people come out of the woodworks just to try something new.
Right.
It's like when you like play a new game and it's like, oh, like Marvel Rivals, for example. Everything's broken, so nothing's broken. People are coming out of the woodworks to play that. At least they want to try it. Sure, it gets boring after a while, so maybe you ban stuff, but like that's where we're at now. I think it's going to be healthy. March 31st, with purpose, is when the next RCQ season is going to be, and that is Modern. So that's when they likely, and I think, in my opinion, should reevaluate and be like, did we do a good job? Should we do more? Is it good now? Let's leave it as it is. RCQ format. Is it bad? Let's try something that we think will fix it. Minor change, not like a huge change, right? This is a big change. To me, this is like big patch, like New Year's, new season, big patch.
New year, new me.
Exactly. Let's hit it hard. Okay. Let's fix what we think is the problem, if there is one. And yeah, I think this is a good start for them for like a potential, hey, new era of Modern, new potential willingness to adapt to. I mean, the card game is 30 years old now. You can't just do the same thing you've done forever. I'm excited. So Splinter Twin, people think it's going to be a nothing burger. I'm currently kind of on that boat. There's like a couple ways you could break the deck. But it's got to compete, you know, it's got to compete with a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of powerful cards now. Like decks like Tron, for example, that used to like never be able to touch Splinter Twin. I don't think I'd be that scared of them as a Tron player. You know what I mean?
Is Winter sitting in the parking lot? Is that her?
Hell yeah, that's her.
I saw a message 23 minutes ago saying, why do you keep making the I've got a poop face? I was like,
You do this.
I was like, for the content, baby. I've got to be thinking.
Let's stay on topic so we can get this episode over. I'm tired. I tired. But I'm giving you guys energy, respect, subscribe, like, comment.
Not Boros energy.
Yeah, they banned energy, bro. I'm tired. I'm out of here. Okay, seriously though, like Splinter Twin, it's a control deck. I don't think that the FOMO shell might be a thing, but I don't think it's going to be like Darcy, Ragavan, whatever, Value Town, Murktide style, no Murktide, Splinter Twins in the deck now. I just don't think that's good enough. The twin that used to win, in my opinion, was like the control style. Like you played Remand because it was just really efficient, but like Force Negation is obviously going to be great. It'd be nice if we had Fury. If they unbanned Fury, Splinter Twin would be really happy because it really kind of like wants to be like a blue-red control deck. Maybe we'll see some Jeskai piles play it because Splinter Twin is so good, or sorry, Supreme Verdict is so good. Maybe with Mox Opal being around, Wrath of the Skies becomes mandatory. I think that Jeskai is a good starting point for Splinter Twin. Theoretically, you could do some Grixis stuff. They did that in the past, but I genuinely think if you're going to play a control shell, Jeskai's already kind of been proving to be its thing. We talked about how we had George on the podcast before. They already been doing Jeskai, and even though it struggled because of energy and there was other problems in the format, the deck itself with subtlety and such has these tools to fight that are also alternate win conditions that Splinter Twin used to play with the 3/3 flyers, etc. Brazen Borrower is another good example of a card they could try out. I mean, like Twin used to play Vendilion Click, and like Brazen Borrower is like the new version of that. And I just think it's going to be a control shell, and I do think that Splinter Twin will be at least tier 2. I'd love to see it be like a meta deck again, like a top 6 deck. That'd be really cool. I would definitely play it. I miss playing Splinter Twin, but the format has the tools to combat it, obviously, and it has so many tools, if anything, that a lot of people just think it's going to suck. So I don't agree with that. I think people are going to find the proper way to play it in a control shell, and a control shell with a combo finisher is pretty scary. You kind of have to respect that. Mox Opal. Wrath of the Skies exists. Could have gave us the artifact lands too, if I'm being honest. I do think Mox Opal is going to make some impact because we already have artifact decks that are still kind of resilient enough to survive, and they're going to be happy to play with Mox Opal, just like the Mox Amber decks are already kind of like happy to do their thing. Whether or not we're going to see decks like Lantern Control come back, probably not with Wrath of the Skies, but if the control deck is bad or Wrath of the Skies is not good enough. I mean, we also have like Meltdown. Meltdown's another good one. Red X, destroy all like artifacts. There's just so many ways to like just sweep artifacts off the board that like artifact lands, 0-drop artifacts, just like not really that scary for me anymore.
Do you feel like Affinity will actually be playable now that Mox Opal's here?
I mean, it's not even freaking playable in Legacy. You know what I mean? Like, so I just don't know.
That's
like,
what I've been seeing. That's like some of the scuttle I've heard today, and I was like, I don't know.
I gotta
man.
talk
I
to
feel
Sal about
I've
it.
never felt like the deck was ever
Sal's like
worth playing.
The main Affinity player that I know. I guess I could talk to Alex Javed and a couple other my Affinity homies. Alex Javed, for what it's worth, top aided our RCQ here with Affinity, playing like he called it tribal constructs. Like you're just making the constructs. Urza Saga is a hell of a card for what it's worth.
Hell of a card.
So like Urza Saga is really the bread and butter of the Affinity decks right now. It's holding it together. Mox Opal is nice to have. Now Springleaf Drum isn't carrying all the weight. I do think that there is going to be room for Mox Opal. I'm just not convinced currently it's going to be watch out for this kind of card. I think it's going to be like fine. I think it's going to be like old Affinity where Affinity would go like this, just like Burn. Oh, people are playing Life Gain? Bad. They cut it? Good. They're playing it? Bad. And Affinity was always the same. Oh, Stony Silence? We suck. No Stony Silence because you don't respect me anymore? I'm back. And I feel like it's going to be that again, and I'm perfectly happy with that. I think Affinity should be like a deck that kind of just sticks around.
Sure.
The fact that they neutered it so hard is one of the things that I had issues with Modern Horizons and ruining older decks. Not that I want to be totally boomer about it. With that being said, what were the other? It was Green Sun Zenith. I think that's the big one. I'll be honest. Faithless Winning I was scared about. We talked about that earlier. I don't think it's as bad as what Green Sun Zenith definitely can do for the format. People are already like front runner talking about like playing it in Amulet because you can get Dryad Arbor, which you can now play as one of your lands. It's a good turn 1 ramp. Shovels back into your deck, so you have your recurring tutor outlet. Dryad of the Elysian Grove is a target for it. You get your prime time with it. You get your plant colossus with it. Cultivator Colossus, is that his name? Plant zombie or plant whatever.
Yeah.
Green Suns is a good card, and there might be people trying to do like elves and weird stuff like that. Not sure if that's going to be good enough, but I think Green Suns has a home in Modern. I think it'd be fun to see what it does. Potentially, it makes certain decks too good now that it's a toolbox. You know, you can play a lot of one-ofs and be like, oh, I'm going to go tutor for the Collector Youth. I'm going to go tutor for, I don't know, like Scavenging Ooze, whatever like the good hate card is that you have like one-ofs of now. And it makes your sideboard stronger, which is cool.
Faithless Looting. Does Faithless Looting, it says draw 3 cards, right?
No, draw 2. It's not a cantrip.
Got it.
You net negative, which is why it was never banned before until it became too good.
The only reason I asked was because I wanted to. I was just trying to think if you're doing turn 2 persist, I don't think that Orcish Bowmasters matters. But I think later in the game, like I don't know. Is Orcish Bowmasters a check for Faithless Looting?
I mean, there's an argument for that. People keep saying they want to play like Mardu. I don't know. I mean, in theory, yes. The big winner with Faceless Looting for me is Phoenix. I think Phoenix obviously is like
Bring back my burbs.
dude. I loved Phoenix in Modern. I was really sad when they banned Faceless Looting for that reason. Turn 2 Manamorphose double Faceless Looting was like the best. That was so much fun. Hollow one, which kind of has been sticking around. Vengevine, Hollowvine, whatever that shell version of what you want to play. With Gravecrawler and stuff like that. Those kind of decks are getting a big boon. I mean, Timmy, a couple seasons ago, won the playmat for Modern League here with Hollowvine, and it was with no Faithless Looting, just Burning Inquiry and Goblin Lore, and he was like, yeah, I would love Faithless Looting for Hollow One and stuff like that. And that deck was crazy back in the day, but it's like, it's no Rhinos. You know what I mean? Speaking of which, with the bans, maybe Rhinos starts to finally make a comeback. No Violent Outburst still. But, I mean, the deck can probably play fine at Sorcery Speed. Domain Zoo was playing Rhinos, right? So, like, maybe they are just the Rhinos deck now. But there's just so many things going on. It's going to be hard to predict everything. And a lot of this is just first thoughts. I wanted to kind of go into it fresh for you guys just to, like, give you, like, unbiased, like, just fresh outlook on it with minimal, like, interactions with other people. So I'm not, like, purely just spouting or regurgitating what other people think. I mean, you come here for our opinions at the end of the day, and then like once we study in a week and look at what the format looks like, we'll give you news, and then we'll give you more opinions. But I don't know. It's a great time. I'm super excited. I cannot tell you how happy I was. Like just seeing the unbans, I was like, no way. It felt like a dream, honestly. Like I'm super excited for Magic right now.
Well, and we've been asking about it, and we've been talking about it on the podcast. I mean, since Stan has come on, like,
oh yeah,
wanting.
I mean, even before the podcast, I'm always like, unban this card,
unban it,
unban that card. I have a dream.
Oh, no.
Artifact lands are real lands. I mean, they're just. I mean, I'm being honest. I don't think artifact lands will be that scary. There must be some deck that like somebody cooked and was like, "Hey, don't ever do it because this," and they're just not showing it to us.
They don't want us to see the hidden technology. They don't want us to see the aliens.
With that being said, is there anything else we can really get into?
If you want to talk about Legacy, for you, Slater.
Okay. For Jared.
Oh,
we will talk about Legacy for a couple minutes.
Rest in peace. We miss you.
Where is it? We're not reading this. All right, maybe we are. No, actually, no. Slater said that the Legacy article was horrific. If you want to see his takes on it and why, because a lot of the Legacy players in our Discord were going off.
Going off.
Go in the Discord and read it.
It's the first time I've gone on that channel.
Slater and I were ready to crash out, and I'm living for it. Psychic Frog's banned, Vexing Bubble's banned. I think Psychic Frog just makes a lot of sense. If you were playing Legacy, you know. These guys were like playing Reanimate in like a mid-range deck. Just like, oh, get my grief back. Oh, that guy got banned. Fine, whatever. I can do whatever I want. Psychic Frog discards. I have a discard outlet for all your decks. They said, I'm pretty sure they said in this article that they were like, man, to me, Reanimate is kind of crazy. We banned grief. Not, it's like Rescaminator was the deck.
Yeah.
Just, wasn't enough. Psychic Frog too good. Psychic Frog is just too efficient. And in a format where you can protect it for free, like in Modern, you go turn 2 Frog, you go, and you're like,
don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die.
In Legacy, you're like, Frog, go, you lose. Like, it's over. I have a Force of Will. Shut up. Also, Wasteland. I'm like, what the hell, man? Shut up. And if I'm wrong, let me know, Jared. But I'm pretty sure that's what it felt like every time it happened to me as a post player.
You were like,
just
look at that meme with like the backhand.
Literally, bro. It's
Psychic
like
Frog.
It's like the meme where the dad breaks in the room, he's got the bell out, and the kid's in the ground. Like, like that's Frog in Legacy. And Vexing Bobble is like a fair card that's just like invalidating the format. And honestly, like,
well, it's making
speaking of Affinity being unplayable, Vexing Bobble deleted artifact decks, like just deleted them. Oh, they didn't ban Nadu for you guys. That was a big problem. It's my understanding. Cephalid Breakfast has been playing Nadu, And that was what Jared played on our team event.
Yeah.
Apparently that deck is like crazy cracked now, and Nadu is like really problematic in the format. And specifically, I'm pretty sure it was what's his name? The really good Death and Taxes player.
Eric,
yeah, Eric Burkhart. He specifically was like, more Nadu. What are we doing here? Like, why didn't they ban it? And so
my only like question with that is, do you know this? Because I have no idea. Was Cephalid Breakfast Dex playing Vexing Bobble?
I think so. Because actually, I don't know enough about the deck to know.
I don't know.
I think
the
so
only
because
reason
it
I
hits
was
out.
asking is because if Vexing Bobble was making Force of Will a card that couldn't be played, would Force of Will bring checks back to Cephalid Breakfast?
I'm pretty sure.
Just a guess for
sure,
a
like,
non-legacy, never playing it, played it once, made me cry.
I feel like everybody was playing Vexing Bubble in Legacy right now that like wasn't playing free spells. I wish I had more like these two last because we do a Legacy once a month here, and that's like the only time I really get to play.
And I
the
never
last
play
two we
'cause
had
I love
really low
myself.
turnout. This one we had like 8 people for. The one before we had like 10, and the decks were not diverse. Like, and I was playing 4 Horsemen for a couple of them. This one I played 12 posts because I wanted to play for real, and nobody was playing Breakfast. And I haven't seen Breakfast since Jared played it at the team event, if I'm being honest. So I don't know enough about the format to talk about it, I'm being honest, guys. But a lot of our friends in the Discord are Legacy experts, and I mean that like they are very good at Legacy. If I have questions about it, I always go to them. I wish I had asked them more questions before going into this, but like I said, I wanted to go into it fresh. We did talk about like the Ancient Tomb decks though, like Painter Servant and whatnot, how they were kind of going crazy. And yeah, Vexing Bobble probably, like you said, invalidated Force of Will in ways that made it so a lot of decks couldn't interact.
Okay, they were not playing it.
Except for Breakfast.
According to Goldfish, they were not playing.
I mean, it makes sense. I'm pretty
Vexing
sure
Bobble main board.
I'm pretty sure Breakfast plays some amount of free stuff, so that makes sense. But
I just
don't you need a Shuko for
need
Nadu?
they
Yeah,
need
exactly. But you have Ursa Saga, so like you can kind of get around it.
Oh sure.
That we talked about it for you, Jared. Honestly, I really
just for
should
you,
be
baby.
skipping this segment, but
Yeah, because
I love you and I miss you. Anyways,
all right,
we're not talking about the rest of the formats because they don't matter.
because no one cares. No one cares. All right.
Wait, hold on. Oh, where's the alchemy page? Oh my god, alchemy.
Digital cards. Digital cards.
Thank you so much for being with us. I had a great time. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend's about to kick my ass. I told her 25 minutes when I lied to her 25 minutes ago or something. Ooh. Anyways, that's our show. We're going to do shout-outs unless you have any last-minute thoughts.
Shout them out.
This went way longer than I thought it would, but we gave you guys a lot of extra stories
Who
and a lot
could
of high
have
energy.
guessed?
I am exhausted. I ran out of water and my throat is itchy. Shout outs to the patrons as always. You guys are the best. We really appreciate you guys. Shout outs to Sal for helping us so much. MTG Chicago is his YouTube channel. Check him out. All the weekly gameplay we have goes there.
Thumbnails.
He does our
Editing.
thumbnails. He edits our videos right now. If our audio is desynced at the moment because we're having some issues and we bought a tool to fix it that doesn't work because I couldn't make it work because I'm not tech savvy. Sorry. I really apologize. And yeah,
so sad.
please, we are doing our best.
This
And the
episode would be
patrons,
so hot.
they are supporting us and helping us, and we will reinvest that money into the show for you guys to up the quality. So if you want to support, it's always the best way you can do it. But if you haven't, like, comment, subscribe. It really goes a long way. Shout out to the viewers that are just here with us for the road. Shout out to Nancy Steroids, intro and outro music you are currently listening to. And also the music that Frank listens to when he streams. And now that he's in his new place, he's been streaming a lot more. Shout outs to Boris Hat Gaming, get your stuff here, order online, check out our website. We got a ton of singles. We also rip products whenever new sets come out so that you guys can get those commons and uncommons
Get those
nobody ever
singles.
has.
Yeah, because
I actually sort them all.
All of them.
And we get trade-ins all the time. Holiday season, people are trading in cards. I've been selling through standard staples nonstop. I think last week I had like 30 copies of Free the Fae, or no, not Free the Fae. The 3-mana tap a guy, make 2/1/1 fairies.
Oh, Fabloom Trick.
Fabloom Trick.
I bought them.
I had 30 copies, and in literally 2 days, I sold 25 or something copies. And it was all standard players that came to our events. We've been having huge standard events, and they all came and bought us out. I will stock the commons and uncommons. When people draft, I look for them just to put them back in the inventory, find more copies of those hard-to-find stuff for you guys. So please check us out, Boards Out Gaming. This is where we record. You can see some of my drawers back here. And it really goes a long way. It really helps us improve and grow. And we try to throw it all back to the community as much as we can. With that being said, that's our show. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
And we'll see you next time.
Peace.